They told me I was dead to them. My own mother looked me in the eyes and said she didn't have a son anymore. That was 3 years ago. Today, I'm standing in my own apartment, running a business I built from nothing, surrounded by people who actually love me for who I am. But getting here? That's a story that almost broke me. And if you're watching this right now, feeling like you're not enough, feel like the world has turned its back on you, I need you to stay until the end, because what I'm about to share with you might just save your life the way it saved mine. Before we dive into this, I need to know something. Where are you watching this from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I want to know where my story is reaching. And if you've ever felt rejected, abandoned, or like you didn't belong, hit that subscribe button right now, because this channel is your safe space. We're building a community of people who refuse to let their circumstances define their future. And leave a like on this video if you believe that your past doesn't determine your worth. Let's get into this. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone. You know the kind of place I'm talking about. The kind where your business is everybody's business, where church on Sunday isn't optional, it's mandatory, and where being different isn't just discouraged, it's dangerous. I was always the kid who didn't quite fit in. While other boys were obsessing over sports and girls, I was more interested in art, music, theater. I told myself for years that I was just creative, just sensitive, just different. But deep down I knew I was gay, and that knowledge terrified me. I spent my entire teenage years building a perfect mask. I dated girls I had no interest in. I laughed at jokes that made my stomach turn. I participated in conversations that made me feel like I was betraying myself with every word. I became so good at pretending that sometimes I almost believed my own lie. Almost. But the truth has a way of demanding to be seen. It doesn't matter how many layers you bury it under. It will claw its way to the surface. And for me, that happened when I was 19 years old. I met someone. I'm not going to share his name because that's his story to tell, not mine. But I met someone who made me realize that I couldn't keep living a lie. He was confident, authentic, unapologetically himself. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe. We started spending time together, and I felt alive in a way I never had before. But in a small town, secrets don't stay secret for long. Someone saw us together. Someone took a photo. And within 48 hours, my entire world collapsed. My phone exploded with messages. Hateful, disgusting, cruel messages from people I thought were my friends. People I'd grown up with. People who'd sat next to me in church. Who'd eaten dinner at my house. Who'd celebrated birthdays with me. They called me things I won't repeat here. They told me I was going to hell. They told me I was sick, disgusting, an abomination. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, was when I walked through my front door that night and saw my parents' faces. My father couldn't even look at me. He just stood there, staring at the floor, his hands clenched into fists. My mother was crying, but they weren't tears of compassion or understanding. They were tears of shame. She looked at me like I was a stranger, like the son she'd raised had died and been replaced by someone she didn't recognize. I tried to explain. I tried to tell them that I was still me, that nothing had changed except that they now knew the truth. But my mother cut me off. She said, and I will never forget these words, she said, "I don't have a son anymore. The son I raised would never do this to us." I was given an ultimatum: go to conversion therapy, renounce who I was, beg God for forgiveness, and maybe, just maybe, they'd consider letting me stay in the house or leave. I had 24 hours to decide. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by memories of a life that suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else. And I tried to figure out what to do. Part of me wanted to stay. Part of me wanted to say whatever they needed to hear, to go through the motions, to pretend again. Because at least then I'd have a roof over my head. At least then I'd have family. But another part of me, the part that had finally tasted freedom, the part that had finally felt authentic, knew that going back into the closet would destroy me. So I left. I packed a duffel bag with whatever I could fit, took the $200 I had saved from my part-time job, and I walked out of that house. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I couldn't stay. The first week was the hardest week of my life. I slept on friends' couches, except most of my friends weren't really friends anymore. I slept in my car. I skipped meals because I needed to save every penny. I cried more in that week than I had in my entire life. I felt abandoned, rejected, worthless. I questioned everything. I questioned whether I'd made the right choice. I questioned whether I was strong enough to survive this. I questioned whether life was even worth living anymore. And I need to be real with you for a second. There was a night, about 2 weeks after I left, where I seriously considered ending it all. I was sitting in my car in an empty parking lot at 3 a.m, and I thought, what's the point? Everyone I love has turned their back on me. I have nothing. I am nothing. And in that moment, I almost gave up. But something stopped me. I don't know if it was stubbornness or survival instinct or just sheer curiosity about what could happen if I kept going. But I decided to give myself one more day. Just one more day. And then another. And then another. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand that rebuilding your life after rejection isn't some fairy tale where everything suddenly gets better. It's messy. It's painful. It's terrifying. There were days where I want to go back, where I wanted to apologize for being who I was, where I would have done anything to feel like I belonged somewhere again. But I kept going, and slowly, things started to shift. I found a youth shelter that took me in. It wasn't much. Shared rooms, strict rules, but it was safe. And more importantly, I met people there who understood what I was going through. People who've been rejected by their families for being gay, for being trans, for being different. People who'd survived things that would have broken most people. And for the first time since I left home, I didn't feel alone. These people became my family, not by blood, but by choice. And that's when I learned one of the most important lessons of my life. Family isn't about who you're related to. Family is about who shows up for you when everything falls apart. I started working. Any job I could find. I washed dishes. I cleaned offices. I worked retail. I did food delivery. I worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs at once because I was determined to never be in a position where I had to depend on anyone ever again. I saved every penny I could. I educated myself. I watched videos. I read books. I learned skills online. I taught myself graphic design, video editing, social media marketing. I didn't have money for college, so I created my own education. And slowly, step by step, I started building something. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks. There were moments where I felt like I was taking 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. There were times when I got fired from jobs because of discrimination. Times when landlords wouldn't rent to me. Times when I faced prejudice and hatred just for existing. But I kept going because I realized something. The people who rejected me, they didn't reject me because of who I am. They rejected me because of who they are. Their inability to accept me had nothing to do with my worth and everything to do with their fear, their ignorance, their limitations. I started my own business about a year after I left home. It was small at first, just freelance graphic design work, taking on projects here and there. But I poured everything I had into it. Every rejection, every moment of pain, every tear I cried, I channeled it all into building something that was mine. Something that nobody could take away from me. And it grew, slowly at first, and then faster than I could have imagined. Within 2 years, I was making more money than my parents ever did. I was able to rent my own apartment, not just a room, not just a shared space, but my own place, a place where I could be myself without fear, a place where I could paint my walls any color I wanted, where I could display artwork that celebrated who I am, where I could bring home anyone I wanted without shame or hiding. But here's the thing that nobody tells you about success after rejection. It doesn't heal the wound. Having money, having a successful business, having my own place, none of that erased the pain of being rejected by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. I still had nights where I'd lie awake wondering if my parents ever thought about me. I still had moments where I'd see other people with their families and feel that sharp ache of loss. Success didn't make me stop being human. It didn't make me stop wanting to be loved and accepted. What did change, though, was my relationship with myself. I stopped waiting for other people to validate my existence. I stopped believing that I needed anyone's approval to be worthy of love and respect. I started looking in the mirror and seeing someone valuable, someone worthy, someone strong, not because of what I'd achieved, but because of what I'd survived. I'd been through hell and come out the other side. I'd faced rejection from the people who were supposed to love me most, and I'd chosen myself anyway. That's not weakness. That's not selfishness. That's survival. That's strength. About 6 months ago, my mother reached out. I hadn't heard from either of my parents in almost 3 years. She sent me a message on social media. It was short. It said, "I saw your business online. I'm proud of you. Can we talk?" I stared at that message for hours. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to tell her exactly how much pain she'd caused me. Part of me wanted to block her and never look back. But part of me, the part that still remembered being a kid who just wanted his mom's love, that part wanted to respond. So I did. We met at a coffee shop. It was awkward and painful and uncomfortable. She apologized, but it was one of those apologies that feels more like an excuse. She said she'd been scared, that she didn't know how to handle it, that she'd been raised a certain way and didn't know any different. She said she regretted how things happened, but she stopped short of saying she regretted her beliefs. And I realized in that moment that I was never going to get the closure I wanted. I was never going to hear her say that I was right and she was wrong. I was never going to get that movie moment where she breaks down and begs for forgiveness, and we hug, and everything is magically okay again. But I also realized that I didn't need that anymore. I didn't need her validation. I didn't need her to understand. I'd already rebuilt my life without her. I'd already proven to myself that I could survive, that I could thrive, that I could be happy without her approval. So I told her the truth. I told her that I appreciated her reaching out, but that forgiveness wasn't something I was ready to give. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I needed to protect myself. I told her that if she wanted to be part of my life, she needed to accept me fully, not tolerate me, not try to fix me, not love me despite who I am, but love me because of who I am. And until she could do that, we couldn't have a relationship. She didn't take it well. She got defensive. She said I was being unfair, that she was trying, that I should be grateful she was willing to reach out at all. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew that the mother I'd wanted her to be didn't exist. Maybe she never did. And as painful as that realization was, it was also freeing, because I stopped waiting for her to change. I stopped holding on to hope that one day she'd wake up and be the parent I deserved. I let go, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with acceptance. I accepted that she was who she was, and I was who I was, and those two realities couldn't coexist. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I'm completely healed. I'm not going to pretend that I don't still have moments of sadness, moments where I wish things had been different. But I am going to tell you that I'm happy. Genuinely, authentically happy. I have friends who are my chosen family. I have a partner who loves me exactly as I am. I have a career that I'm passionate about. I have a life that I've built on my own terms. And none of that would have been possible if I'd stayed in that house, if I'd let fear and shame dictate my choices, if I'd sacrificed who I was to the approval of people who would never truly accept me. If you're watching this and you're struggling, if you've been rejected, if you're questioning whether you have the strength to keep going, I need you to hear this. You do. You have more strength inside you than you realize. The fact that you're still here, still fighting, still searching for answers, that proves you're strong. The people who reject you for being who you are, they're not rejecting you. They're revealing themselves. They're showing you who they really are. And as painful as that revelation is, it's also a gift, because now you know. Now you don't have to waste your energy trying to earn the love of people who are incapable of giving it. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not a mistake. You are exactly who you're supposed to be. And I know that's hard to believe right now. I know it feels like the pain will never end. I know it feels like you're alone. But you're not. There are millions of us out here who've walked this path, who survived this fire, who've rebuilt our lives from ashes. And we're here. We see you. We believe in you. And we're waiting for you on the other side. Rebuilding your life after rejection isn't about proving anything to the people who rejected you. It's not about showing them that they were wrong or making them regret their choices. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about looking in the mirror and recognizing your own worth. It's about building a life that's so authentic, so fulfilling, so genuinely yours that the approval of people who don't truly know you becomes irrelevant. I'm going to leave you with this. 3 years ago, I lost everything. I lost my family, my home, my sense of security. I lost people I loved and who I thought loved me, and it destroyed me, but it also freed me, because in losing everything, I gained something far more valuable. I gained myself. I gained the freedom to live authentically. I gained the strength that only comes from surviving the unsurvivable. I gained a life that's mine, built on my terms, filled with people who love the real me, not some watered-down version I pretended to be. Your rejection is not your ending. It's your beginning. It's the universe forcing you to let go of people and places and versions of yourself that were never meant for you anyway. And I know that sounds like empty words right now. I know it sounds like the kind of inspirational quote you'd see on Instagram that doesn't actually help when you're lying awake at 3 in the morning feeling like your world is falling apart. But I promise you, from someone who's been exactly where you are right now, it gets better. Not immediately, not magically, but gradually, day by day, choice by choice, it gets better. You start waking up and realizing you went a whole day without crying, then a whole week. Then you realize you're actually excited about something. Then you catch yourself laughing, genuine laughter, the kind that comes from your soul. Then you look around at the life you're building and you think, holy shit, I'm doing it. I'm actually surviving this. And then one day, you realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving. You're happy. You're free. That's my story. That's how I rebuilt my life after being rejected for being gay. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't easy. It wasn't some inspirational movie montage with uplifting music. It was messy and painful and terrifying, but it was worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, it was all worth it. Because I'm free now. I'm authentically, unapologetically, completely free. And if I can do it, so can you. So wherever you are right now, whatever you're going through, don't give up. Give yourself one more day, and then another, and then another. Build your chosen family. Invest in yourself. Learn, grow, create. Be so unapologetically yourself that the people who are meant for you can find you, and let go of the ones who aren't, not with bitterness, but with grace. Because holding on to people who don't value you only prevents you from finding the ones who will. If this video resonated with you, if you needed to hear this today, share it with someone who might need it too. Drop a comment below and let me know your story. Where are you in your journey? Are you at the beginning, in the middle of the struggle, or on the other side looking back? Let's build a community here where everyone knows they're not alone. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I'm going to keep sharing my truth, and I want you here for all of it. And most importantly, remember this. You are worthy. You are valuable. You are enough, exactly as you are. Don't ever let anyone make you forget that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. I'll see you in the next one.